Sister Abhaya's story begins on February 26, 1971, in the serene district of Kottayam, Kerala, a region known for its deep Christian roots. By 1992, 21% of Kerala's population identified as Christian, and Kottayam boasted the second-largest Christian community in the state. Churches and convents formed the backbone of the local culture, shaping the lives of countless individuals. Among these institutions stood the prominent saint, Pius X Convent, home to a hostel for young women, many of whom aspired to become nuns. One such resident was 21-year-old Sister Abhaya, a devoted young woman who sought to serve God, support others, and pursue her education. With exams looming, Abhaya decided to wake up early to study in the stillness of dawn. Setting her alarm for 4 a.m., she climbed into bed, her thoughts likely focused on her studies. When the alarm buzzed the next morning, it stirred the other girls in the dormitory, but Abhaya, ever polite, greeted her friends and got to work. A while later, thirst interrupted her concentration, and she headed to the convent's kitchen to fetch some water. That was the last time anyone saw Sister Abhaya alive. By morning, the convent buzzed with concern. Abhaya was nowhere to be found. The nuns searched the premises, but their worry deepened when they reached the kitchen. An uncapped bottle lay on the floor, surrounded by spilled water, and one of Abhaya's slippers was oddly wedged beneath the refrigerator. Stranger still, the kitchen door was locked from the outside. The search extended outdoors, where another chilling clue emerged. Abhaya's other slipper rested near the convent's well. Peering inside, the nuns made a grim discovery: Abhaya's lifeless body floating in the water. Shocked and grief-stricken, the nuns quickly called the police. Officer V.V. Augustine arrived on the scene, carefully documenting the area and calling in a photographer to preserve evidence. Abhaya's body was sent for an autopsy, sparking questions that would haunt the investigation. Dr. Radhakrishnan, who performed the post-mortem, reported troubling details: cuts, bruises, and a head injury, yet no signs of sexual assault. Despite these findings, the cause of death was recorded as drowning, hinting at suicide. But the physical evidence whispered of something darker, a possibility that would cast a long shadow over this case. Was it really suicide? Or had Sister Abhaya been silenced forever? The tragedy of Sister Abhaya was just beginning to unravel, setting the stage for one of the most controversial and debated cases in India history. Abhaya's friends and family were devastated and deeply skeptical of the official ruling. Why would a young woman known for her vibrant spirit and unwavering faith take such a drastic step? Those closest to her, including the nuns she lived with, knew her well. There were no signs of depression, no cries for help, and no ominous hints in her behavior. Yes, exams were around the corner, but Abhaya wasn't the type to crumble under academic pressure. More puzzlingly, why would she set her alarm for 4 a.m. if she had no intention of seeing the day? These questions loomed large, feeding the growing belief that Abhaya's death wasn't a suicide. Some suggested it might have been an accident, that she somehow fell into the well. But the evidence painted a different picture. The uncapped water bottle, spilled water, and her slipper found in the kitchen hinted at an incident that began indoors and ended tragically outside. Something had happened between the kitchen and the well, something dark. The whispers grew louder. Was it murder? And if so, why were there attempts to cover it up? The fact that this happened within a convent only deepened suspicions. Many believed there was a concerted effort to protect the institution's reputation, silencing the truth in the process. The public's outrage and activist intervention turned Abhaya's death into a focal point for justice. On April 7th, 1992, local activist Jomon Puthanpurakal took up the cause, demanding answers and accountability. The case was handed over to the crime branch for reinvestigation, but months of probing led to the same conclusion: suicide. The decision was met with widespread disbelief. By then, critical evidence had been lost. Abhaya's body had been buried, and her clothes burned, eliminating potential forensic breakthroughs. Allegations arose that the crime branch had destroyed key evidence to suppress the truth, further fueling public anger. Under immense pressure from activists, the media, and a discontented public, the case was transferred to the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, for a fresh probe. The CBI began their work, but the absence of physical evidence limited progress. Then, in January 1994, a dramatic revelation turned the tide. CBI officer Varghese P. Thomas, assigned to the case, held a press conference in Kochi, declaring that he had been pressured to label the case a suicide. Unable to compromise his integrity, he resigned 7 years before his official retirement. Thomas named his superior, V. Tyagarajan, as the source of the pressure. His startling admission caused a nationwide uproar, sparking debates in Parliament and reigniting public calls for justice. The Action Council petitioned the Kerala High Court, demanding Tyagarajan's removal from the case, and the court agreed. A new CBI officer, M.L. Sharma, took over the investigation. In April 1995, the CBI conducted a series of dummy tests, meticulously recreating Abhaya's fall into the well to study the resulting injuries. These were then compared to Abhaya's recorded wounds. Despite their efforts, the case remained shrouded in uncertainty. By November 1996, the CBI submitted its first final report, admitting they could not conclusively determine whether Abhaya's death was a suicide or a murder. The court rejected the report, demanding further investigation. This time, 3 forensic experts analyzed photographs of Abhaya's body and uncovered injuries that had been conspicuously absent from the original post-mortem report. Nuns who had witnessed Abhaya's body being retrieved from the well corroborated the existence of these injuries. The new findings shifted the investigation in a chilling new direction, raising the haunting possibility that Abhaya's death was no accident, and far from self-inflicted. In 1999, based on their renewed investigation, the CBI submitted their second final report, concluding that Sister Abhaya was indeed murdered. However, they were unable to identify the culprits. The court refused to close the case and ordered yet another investigation with a new CBI team. On August 25, 2005, the CBI submitted another report stating they didn't find anyone involved in Sister Abhaya's death. For the third time, the court rejected the report, keeping the case open. Between 1992 and 2005, numerous investigations, interviews, and evidence examinations took place. Yet, how was it possible that no leads emerged? How could they have no suspects after such an exhaustive inquiry? Protests by the nuns and the public grew louder, with the media amplifying the pressure. Many accused the authorities of mishandling the case from the beginning and destroying crucial evidence. Speculations arose about a powerful entity working behind the scenes to bury the truth. Was it fair to question the competence or integrity of the police, CBI, or crime branch officers? After all, a CBI officer, P. Thomas, had publicly stated that his superiors pressured him to declare the case as a suicide. The critical question remained: who was influencing these senior officers? Who was orchestrating this cover-up? In 2007, a shocking revelation emerged. A witness came forward with critical information about the night of Sister Abhaya's murder. This witness had the potential to identify the culprits. But here's the tricky part. How reliable was this witness, given that he was a thief? After 15 years of investigation, many witnesses had either retracted their statements or passed away. Yet this new witness completely changed the direction of the case. His name was Adaka Raju. Raju confessed that back in 1992, he survived by committing petty thefts. On the night of March 27, 1992, he entered the St. Pius Convent, intending to steal copper rods and wires to sell for money. What he witnessed that night haunted him for 15 years. He saw a man sneaking into the convent, a man he recognized. It was a well-known priest, Father Thomas Couture. What was a priest doing at a girls' hostel in the middle of the night? Raju also claimed to have seen another priest, Father Jose, and a nun, Sister Sephi, at the convent. What unfolded next was deeply disturbing. Raju, a simple thief looking for small items to steal, found himself witnessing something that would change the course of the case forever.
If the rumors were true, and Father Thomas and Sister Sephi were indeed having an affair, it was an enormous issue. As these whispers spread, new suspects emerged, and countless theories began to form. One widely accepted theory suggested that Father Thomas went to meet Sister Sephi that night. Around 4 a.m., Sister Abhaya, thirsty, went to the fridge for water and overheard suspicious noises coming from the kitchen. Curious, she walked in and saw Father Thomas and Sister Sephi in a compromising situation. Fearing that Abhaya might scream, expose their secret, and tarnish the convent's reputation, they decided to silence her permanently. It's believed they killed her and dragged her body to the well, where they disposed of it. In 2008, based on Raju's testimony, Father Thomas, Father Jose, and Sister Sephi became the prime suspects. In court, the defense lawyers tried to portray Raju as a criminal, presenting 10 prior cases against him. Raju admitted to his past crimes, but firmly stood by his statement that he saw the 3 suspects in the convent that night. As a result of his testimony, the trio was sent to Bangalore for a narco-analysis test. The tests were recorded on 3 CDs, which were later submitted as evidence in court. When the court reviewed the recordings, nothing incriminating was found. The 3 appeared innocent. However, allegations arose that the recordings had been tampered with. Experts were brought in to analyze the CDs, and it was discovered that 2 of the CDs had over 30 cuts, confirming tampering. In November 2008, the 3 suspects were officially arrested. Sister Sephi was even subjected to a virginity test, a practice that checks if the hymen is intact, a flawed and unscientific method based on the misconception that the hymen can only tear during intercourse. Thankfully, in 2013, the Supreme Court declared such tests unconstitutional. Despite numerous hearings, the case dragged on. In September 2009, the unedited, original narco-analysis recordings were leaked to the media. These recordings allegedly showed the accused discussing Sister Abhaya's murder. However, the accused claimed the recordings were doctored and manipulated. From 2009 to 2019, the case remained in court with little progress. Finally, in 2020, after decades of waiting, the court delivered its verdict. Father Thomas and Sister Sephi were found guilty of Sister Abhaya's murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. Additionally, a fine of $5,000 was imposed on each of them. As for Father Jose, he was acquitted of all charges. And now, here's another shocking twist. In 2022, just 2 years after their life imprisonment sentence, the court suspended Father Thomas and Sister Sephi's punishment, releasing them on bail. The court stated that there wasn't enough concrete evidence against them to definitively prove they committed the murder. The verdict explained that while theories might suggest they were at the convent that night, or even involved in an affair, it doesn't conclusively mean they murdered Sister Abhaya. It has been 32 years since this tragic murder. Sister Abhaya's parents are no longer alive to see justice for their daughter, and even today the case remains unresolved. What do you think really happened to Sister Abhaya? Were Father Thomas and Sister Sephi involved? Or did Adaka Raju have a hidden secret we may never know? Feel free to respectfully discuss your thoughts in the comments section, and I'll try to reply. If you enjoyed this narration, please consider subscribing to the channel. I'll see you next time with another intriguing case.